You just have to keep going. Face the obstacle, go through the obstacle, go over the obstacle, dig under the obstacle, whatever you need to do, but keep going down that road. I think you can get caught too much in the little detailed things that are not significant in the task actually taking place.
If you're choosing comfort now, then that means you're going to have to choose massive growth later. You can choose massive growth now and have comfort later. Welcome back to the Growth Over Comfort podcast. I am your co-host, Randy Anderson, joined once again by Steve Miller, my co-host and brother.
Happy to be here. Excited about today.
Yeah, definitely. We have a fun show ready for today, a fun topic, fun for me. I don't know. It's been great. Like, I feel like I keep bringing my problems to you and you keep giving me like these solutions that I keep trying to implement. So
I think they're good for everybody. Helps me too.
Yeah, well, I'm thankful. I'm so thankful for the show, thankful for people watching, thankful so much to you, Steve, for being here.
Yes, sir.
And helping me out, because you really are helping me out. But before we get started, I want to make sure you guys know that, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube, we're on all the places. So if you're listening on Spotify, please go check out YouTube and, maybe see the video version of this. Give us a subscribe, like. And if you're on YouTube, do the opposite over on Spotify. Give us a follow. Give us some ratings. Hopefully they're 5 stars and they're really nice, we hope. But also be honest. Tell us, because feedback is important. And share this with your friends. If you have friends that you think might be interested in that, in this or that. I actually spoke with a friend of mine recently who I didn't even know that she listened. Shout out to you, Maddie. Thank you so much. And she was like, I checked out your podcast with Steve. I loved it, and I've been sharing it with all my friends. And it really touched my heart because I was like, hey, that's a friend of mine who listened. Not only did she listen, but she listened and enjoyed it. And then not only did she do that, but she then shared it with her friends.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so thank you, Maddie. And thank you to everyone else who shares the show and gives us support. We really appreciate y'all. We're going to keep kicking on this, and we're going to keep going. And, we're not going to stop. Yeah, so what I wanted to ask you and talk about today, and we can also talk about anything else that comes up as well if you had anything. But the main thing I wanted to chat about is that, and I'll give some backstory. I actually already told Steve all this off camera, but for the audience sake, I'll reiterate it. I just lost I got word that in coming up in the next few months, I will be losing a major client. And it's going to be a pretty big hit in my revenue. And to the point where, I literally kind of froze on Friday when I heard about it. And it was just kind of like, oh, no. Like, whoa, that's big. And it's scary. It's really scary. So my question to you is not about getting new clients, not about all those things, because, I can get new clients and all that. But my real question is leadership and making hard decisions. Because in front of me, there are hard decisions about which way I need to go. And that being how to restructure my pricing, that being which new clients to go after, or that being to find financing in certain ways. So what in your mind is, it's a very broad question, but what in your mind does successful leadership look like when making hard decisions?
I think the first thing is understanding that, and I think we're both old enough, and most people listening to this podcast are old enough to know that you're going to get knocked down in life. And one of the things, from this morning I shared, when you get knocked down, the best thing to do is look up. What I mean by look up is, look up and find out, where God's at in your situation. And I think more often than not, when you do look up and realize that, hey, God's still here with me, He didn't abandon me just because I had, a setback or there was something that came to me that I wasn't expecting. I think that realizing that God's still there, that He still has you, He has a plan and a purpose for your life, and then get back up, start with a vision, start looking at things different than you were looking at them before. The easiest things to go, well, I've got to go right back into what this was that I had. I've got to get another client like that. I've got to find somebody else that fits into that little box that I have so that I can put myself back into this box that I was in. And God may be saying, I took you out of that so that you can be over here.
Yeah.
So be very mindful when you do get up that you're not only getting up, but you look up and find out where God will have you and find out what God has for your life. I think it's important to know that at the end of the day, you're not by yourself. And one of the biggest things that's happened to me over time is anytime I have something really hard come, more often than not, I find myself going, how will I get through this? How will I handle this? How am I going? And I need to turn that and go, God, what would you have me to do? Mm-hmm. God, how would you like for this situation to work out in my life? Instead of just I, because my earthly side of things doesn't even come close to the vision that God has for me. So I think that's a big part of starting that journey. It does matter in what you're trying to do and what you're looking at.
That's good. That's good. No, I think that's great. And you said it perfectly. And I mean, my situation as well. That I currently do, websites as well as video, and my true passion lies with video projects. And this was a website client. But the thing is that in my life, website clients have been paying a ton more than they have video. And so I love what you said about maybe I need to be. I'm trying, because my first thought is, and actually it's still my plan. Like, gee, I have all these plans. Maybe I should ask God what His plan is, though. But I have all these plans, and then the last thing, I've actually said this to Anna, is that I'll just get another website client. Like, I'll just find someone else like that. And, while that might still be a little bit daunting, I know I can, because I've done it for the past 10, 12 years. Like, I've always found a new client that filled that hole. But I love what you said about maybe it's time to be in a different, like, instead of me trying to shove myself back into that box, maybe it's time to see what box God wants me to be in.
Right. And there are also situations that you can look at on the leadership side. You're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself.
Right.
You've now brought on some other people, and there's some other people counting on you to make it feel a little bit more daunting and a little bit more, now what I'm going to do. I've got payroll, and I've got to take care of people. The biggest thing in that is knowing that as you do the right things, that those things will be taken care of along the way. You can go get another web design deal. You can go find all of that. And like you said, that's always happened for you. So that's always the turn back. But what if God has you go in a complete different direction? What if He moves you over to an area that you've never been in?
Yeah.
You were taught growth over comfort. It's the name of our podcast. That's legit growth, and that's really not comfortable at all.
You're exactly right. Yeah. And there have been these things in life that I've wanted to pursue, and I've got a passion for, and they have aspects of all of it: website work, video content, and all of it. And I've never pursued them because I felt that, well, I will when I get this, or I will when I get this together, or all of these things. So I mean, maybe it is time to move forward in that sort of way. What do you do when you need to make a tough decision, though? Do you make a pro and con list? I know you said that you look up to God, especially, and you ask God for direction. And I love that, and I agree with you, because, I do think that if He has a direction for me and I'm fighting against going it, I'm always going to fail. Like, it's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Versus being helped by Him and guided by Him. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, His path, but it just means that I have His guidance, and I'm actually on His path and blessing. There's blessing that comes with that. There really is. Back to the decisions with leadership and things. In the here and now, let's say you have a tough decision. Do you make a pro and cons list? Do you have more of a, I go with my gut? What's your take on like tough leadership decisions?
There have been moves in my life. There have been places that I was in my life where I looked at it and went, I'll never leave here. This is the best place I could possibly ever be, and I'm really excited about it. And then for whatever reason, God would take me and move me. He would move me internally before He moved me physically. So, in that process of looking to Him and seeing and knowing, it's much more of a gut feeling for me. It's much less of the traditional, like you're talking about pro and con. My wife will tell you that I take action before I think through the process, because I think you can get caught up in the process. I think you can easily get caught in the little minute details that'll keep you from doing whatever tasks that you're looking to do. Just think about the podcast that we've started. Mm-hmm. You told me that you've been meaning to do this for a long time, and then we set a date and said we're going to start on this date. And once we set a date and we were, okay, we're going to start on this date, all of the other stuff, all of the things that would cause us not to do it came together, and we're on what, recording episode
7,
episode 7, today. So I think you can get caught too much in the little detailed things that are not significant in the task actually taking place. I think too many people get down a road a little bit and they go, okay, it's not comfortable over here, and they go right back.
Yeah.
I think you just have to keep going. Face the obstacle, go through the obstacle, go over the obstacle, dig under the obstacle, whatever you need to do, but keep going down that road. But it all comes down to a vision. What are you looking to do? What do you want your life to look like 3 to 4 years from now? What would you like for your life to be 3 to 4 years from now? And move in that direction. And it's going to be hard and it's going to be tough to grow. But any kind of leader will tell you, you've got to go. If you don't go, if you don't take action, there's no way to get anywhere down the road that you would like to be.
I think that's great. And you mentioned an obstacle in the way, and it, I'm guessing you've read Ryan Holiday's reading Ryan Holiday's. Yeah, Obstacle is the Way. I love that book, and I agree that the obstacle is the way, and it always makes us stronger and better. I find that my issue in life is that, have you ever played a game, like a video game, which I don't play many games anymore, but like, do you remember there used to be, and this is more prevalent like in old school games than they are new games. There would be it would be like a side scrolling game where the screen would be scrolling and you would be running, but if you didn't keep moving, the screen kept moving. And if you didn't it would push you. And so I feel like sometimes I get into an obstacle, like there's an obstacle in my way, and I come to it and I'm just like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And I don't know about it, but like behind me, the screen is moving still. Right. And then before I realize it, I'm about to get squished and I become Mario and I die or whatever, or game over. Or what usually happens is I get pushed right up until the screen and I'm in between the screen and the obstacle. And then I just make a final decision and I get past it. And I love what you said about the small details hold you up, because that's my issue. Is I think the small, minute details hold me up from making a call and making a decision. So what do? Do we just say, let's just make that decision. Let's not worry about the small details. Don't sweat it. And then we'll figure it out when we get past this. Or we'll reassess. And I think I'm answering my own question, because it is like you just make the decision, you move past it, see what the results are. And if you made the wrong decision, then see if you can pivot somehow. But if not, at least you learned, right?
Right. The church that I attend, one of the things that I think is really unique is they try things all the time. One of the things that churches get into is they're so traditional. They get so caught in, hey, this is how we did it 30 years ago. This is what we were doing 50 years ago. We need to keep doing that. Well, our church doesn't do that. And sometimes they pivot, and the pivot's just wrong. And our pastor will say, hey, we're not doing that anymore. We're going back to, and we'll keep moving. And they'll keep trying. They'll keep working. I love the fact that they're not stagnant.
Yeah.
That there's an ability to move and work. And like you said, not look at something and go, hey, I'm down this road and I know this is wrong now. I know I'm going the wrong way, and keep going that way. That doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
As you're going down the road, you need to pick up the small stuff. You need to pick up the details. You need to make sure you're handling all that stuff. And all of those things will be hard because they're new. But as you get into it, if you get into it and go, this is not it, this is not the road, you can back up. You can start again and start down a different path, a different road. Don't be afraid to step out. Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to walk out into an area you never walked in before, because those are the places that growth really occurs.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I listened to, Myron Golden, said that he started playing the guitar because it was hard for him. And in playing the guitar, and it being hard for him made everything else in his life, business and life, get better because he was overcoming something hard in his life and he was being consistent with that. So find something that's difficult, find something you're moving into, get into the small things as you're going, but don't try to get all the small things fixed and then go, because then you'll never make it.
There's this YouTube channel I really like called the Future something, Futur. I don't know how. It's Chris Doe. I don't know his name. It's something like that. But he's awesome about talking about how to talk to your clients about pricing and things like that, and how to get new clients and proposals and all this stuff. And one of the things he says is never negotiate on your price. And I'm bringing this back to you talking about the little things, because he says don't negotiate on your price because it proves to your client that you don't know your worth. Instead, you negotiate on the deliverables. So if you say, I can have this service for you for this amount of money, and they say that's too much, then you say, I understand. However, I really do want to work with you, so why don't we look at what we deliver and see what is non-negotiable? Let's see the things that we have to have. Is it this website has to be done just like this? And maybe you don't actually need those auxiliary websites. The main website needs to be done, not the auxiliary websites. Or maybe the main video needs to be done, but these social media parts don't need to be done. What are the parts that we have to get? And then those are the other things that we can negotiate on. And maybe we can lose one or two of those things to make the pricing easier. So in reality, I guess it is negotiating the price, but wrapped with a prettier bow, because you're not having to deliver the same product for less.
Well, you're still valuing your time at the same amount that you were valuing your time at.
Right.
It's all about time. We go back to talk about time. It's all about how you value your time. So if your time's worth X amount of dollars per hour, and it's going to take you X amount of hours to accomplish that task, then you need to make sure that you're getting that amount of value out of your hour, that someone is actually going to give you what you're worth for that hour of your time.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're literally trading your life for that project.
Yes.
And if you're trading your life for that project, then it's worth a little bit more than just, hey, I can take $400 off of this and we'll be fine.
Right. Yeah, 100%. But it is interesting because I think it's like the small pieces that add up. Because there's so many times that I'll be putting a proposal together for a client and I'll think, oh, this really shouldn't be that bad. And so then I put together like one or two big main pieces. And then I'm like, well, each of those main pieces has 4 smaller pieces. And even though those are priced at a much smaller rate, those 4 added up over, 4 main projects. Now there's 16 of them. Those do add up. And so just like your thing about time, it's the little pieces of things that add up. You don't think about the little things adding up so quickly and taking up so much of your time or your budget or anything.
Right.
But they really do. They take up a lot of effort. They take up a lot of energy and all of that.
One of the things that I've been paying a lot of attention to in my life is the amount of time that I spend on things that time wasn't in that project or in that assignment or in that part of my day, that I could focus on something else that would allow me to move to another area.
Yeah.
That's been the piece for me that's really changed. So that focus has meant a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that reminds me of one of our past conversations where I didn't meet a deadline. It was a self-imposed deadline, but I didn't meet it in my head, and your whole thing was, what were you working on in that day that was a 5 or less? Because you could have been working on the deadline part.
Right.
And I'm happy to report back that this week we met all deadlines. They were all self-imposed.
Hey, that's a win.
Yeah, this past
That's great.
week. Yeah, I mean, again, they were all self-imposed. Like the thing that I had a deadline on, it's actually not even due till tomorrow. But we got everything to the client, on Friday. And I've told Steve this. I've told several other people this, and I've told my editor, Day. She is the reason that I've hit all those deadlines, and not been freaking out. So thank you, Day, for everything you're doing.
Just bringing one person on board that's allowed you to free up that part of your time is going to allow you to move into another area.
Right.
But one of the small things, one of the little things that if you're going to shift that you need to do is make sure that you feel the time that you no longer have in the box that you were in, fill it with something that's productive to get you into the other area you need to be in.
100%.
I think all too often what people do is, okay, I'm not in this box anymore, I'll just relax.
Yeah.
I'll just chill. I'll just lay back. We talked about it before we started the podcast today about how you came out of the 75 hard and you had a great year. You completed that, and congratulations, by the way. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Thanks.
And then this week wasn't the week that you would normally have. So you replaced 75 hard with maybe 6 easy.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So changing that and shifting that, my workout partner in the mornings, we talk about this often. We get to a certain point, okay, we're happy, we're comfortable at this point. We're not in the shape that we wanted to be in. We haven't reached our goal. We're not where we said we would be, but we're comfortable where we are.
Yeah.
So we just slack for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly that minute becomes a week, and then that week becomes a month, and then the next thing you know, we're right back where we were before we started our journey. And then we start that journey over and we get to the place, okay, we're comfortable now. Okay, we're back into some sort of shape.
Yeah.
But we're not where we said we were going to be. And I think the biggest thing is being able to push past that comfort level when we achieve something. I think once you achieve something that's major in your life, that next step is to turn it and go, okay, I'm at this point. What raises me to the next level?
Yeah.
What gets me to the next place that I need to be? I listen to Ed Mylett a lot, and most people, if you follow podcasts at all, know Ed Mylett. One of the things that Ed Mylett said, and if you look at Ed Mylett, he's in great physical shape. He said, but he's not where he wants to be. So what he's about to do is get with the 4 people that he knows that are in the best shape in his group and start working out with those guys to raise his level of fitness.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to change your circle.
That's good.
Sometimes you have to move away from some things and some people in order to get to the next space that you want to be in.
Yeah, that's really good because they will for sure influence you, and you will either rise to where they are or you'll be lowered to wherever the other people are. You know, it's a very cliche saying, the show me your friends will show you your future. And we've talked about that on the first episode.
Well, and a rising tide, they say, lifts all ships.
Exactly.
So if you're with, and this is something that you told me that I thought was fantastic, that you would rather be with a 4 rising rather than an 8 that's starting to slide, that's starting to slip back toward a 7.
Yep.
What if you surrounded yourselves with 4s that were rising?
Yeah.
And, you may be a 6 rising, and you've got 4s rising in your group, and everybody's rising.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're at 10, and they're at 8, and everybody's just continuing to move. Everybody's trying to level up. Everybody's trying to get better.
Yeah.
If those are what you're surrounding yourself with, life has to naturally get better.
It has to.
Will it get easier? No, it may get harder, but you're at a place where you can actually move up when you're in those types of groups of people.
Yeah, 100%. And everyone lifts each other up too. You know, if they see someone slacking in one area, they can pull them off to the side and be like, what's wrong? What's going on? Like, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, let's talk. Let's take a minute, recover, catch our breath, but then let's jump back in. Yeah,
Let's
we got to
go.
get going.
You said earlier that, there may be some people that are looking at you hoping that you fail. That just drives you a little bit.
Yeah.
I always like that. One of my favorite David Goggins quotes is,
I know what you're going to say.
you will never find someone that's doing better than you that criticizes you, that tries to bring you down.
Yeah.
Nobody doing better because they know how hard it is to get on the level that they're on.
Yeah.
And they see you coming and they're like, man, that's awesome. That's another person that's striving to do something great. And they know how difficult that is. They know what you're going through. They've been there. They know what it feels like. So they're excited that you're going.
Yeah.
On the other side, you got people in your life that'll be like, I can't believe Randy's doing that. It's going to be 2 or 3 months and Randy won't be out there anymore. He ain't going to be. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Care about the ones that are going, hey, you can get up here. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's not the Goggins quote I thought you were going to talk about. The Goggins quote I thought you were going to talk about. That's a great one. And I do love that one. The Goggins quote I thought you were talking about, and I'm not quoting it exactly, but he talks about how when someone doesn't believe in him or says that he can't do something, he has a cookie jar on his shoulder. You know about this?
Oh, yeah.
He says, that's a cookie for me. And he puts it on his shoulder. And that way he can remember it when times are tough. When he's like running and he's like, and then someone say Goggins isn't going to run that far. He takes out that cookie and eats it. And he's like, it's going to taste so good.
I love it.
Because it motivates him to say, I am going to make it. And he puts a lot of superlatives in there as he says that.
Oh, yeah.
But and I won't put them on this podcast.
Yeah, we're going to try to stay away from that.
Yeah, we want to glorify Jesus with this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. But my coach right now is Coach Michael Burt. And Coach Michael Burt says that if someone does something good for him, he always responds, thank you, I owe you. He said if someone does something bad to him, he responds, thank you, I owe you.
Yeah, because you learn either way.
Because
right?
you're learning either way in that. And you can see who that person is and what's going on from that. And over time, you'll know who you're going to spend your time with.
That's really deep. All right, well, I want to back up before we wrap up. I want to back up to the part where you talked about going in cycles and getting comfortable with stuff. Because for me, the web stuff is very comfortable. Like I can do that, with my hands tied behind my back and just using my nose to press on the keyboard. Like I live and breathe code, I guess is what I'm saying, and do websites and stuff. Going to get new clients, going to get video stuff, putting myself out there for project proposals. Those are still comfortable for me, but it's newer, you know? But when you talk about doing online projects, I can do those all day as well. But going around town up to someone locally and saying, hey, I can improve your social media game for Coleman, Alabama, or the north part of Alabama, that's uncomfortable for me. So that's the area of growth I'm looking to grow in, is I want to grow my social media agency here locally. And it's different because there's something about like, and I think a lot of people know this, when you're typing on a keyboard, you're typing online, it's easier to say whatever you want because you're not face to face with someone.
Right.
You know, but if you're in person with them and telling them, here's my price and here's all the things I can do for you, that's way more uncomfortable. I do think though, where I'm going with this is that I think it's time to grow for me even more. And it's funny because I felt like I was growing with 75 Hard and I felt like this is the most growth I've ever done. Of course, I did take my 6 days off recently, so I slacked a little. The pizza was delicious, by the way.
There you go.
I guess what I'm saying is it's time for me to grow in my business. It's time for me to step up and move forward. And knowing that if it goes bad, like if in a year I have to find something else with websites, so what?
Right.
Who cares? I listened to a song on the way over here, and the premise of the song is, and it's a little different for me because I'm a believer, and we're believers, so this premise is a little different. But he says, when I die, I'm not going to have regrets because I know that when I lived, I was alive, is essentially what the song says.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And basically saying I'm not going to be on my deathbed with regrets.
Right.
And he's talking about it in a much different way than, you know, Christians view death and things of that nature. But I think part of it is true. When I die, I never want to look back and be like, oh man, what if instead of just finding that comfortable web design thing or website thing, what if I had tried to run with Crema, you know, and all that? What if I had really tried to push it and make it go further?
I think there's 4 things. I think number 1, you need to look at the adversity piece of it and see if the adversity is worth going through to achieve your vision. Because it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt. You're going to have times where you're just mad, frustrated. The second thing is make sure that your vision is big enough to account for the adversity. Because if your vision's not big enough, it doesn't matter. You know, if you're looking at it and going, hey, I'm going to do this over here and it's not worth it, you're going to quit.
Yeah.
You're going to give up when it's hard. And anything worth doing is hard. The third thing, I think you've got to be specific in what you want to do. You know, you have a vision. Everybody, you know, people talk about, hey, you've got to have a vision. You got to have a vision. You got to see it. You need to be specific. This is what I want to do by this date. This is what I want to do by this date. This is what I want to do by this date. Now, I'm not talking about setting goals. I'm talking about setting things that you'll actually take action to lead up to.
Yeah.
And then reverse engineer those things and go, okay, these are the 4 things that I'm going to do every day in order to hit this action point. These are the 6 things I'm going to do to hit this next action point. And then the next one is actually be grown up, man enough to do what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
You were able to do that in 75 Hard. If you're able to do that in 75 Hard, you're able to do that in any aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Now, back to it, you can do that by yourself. And you can go through that by yourself, or you can find somebody that'll hold you accountable and go, these are the action steps I know I'm going to have to take in order to get this result. And then commit to a time frame.
Yeah.
And go, this is the time frame that I have for this, but these are the things that I'm actually going to do every day in order to get right here. And if you'll take those things, you'll take those 4 things and apply those, you have an opportunity to reach any goal that you're really setting that's out in the future.
That's great. No, I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. And it reminds me too of Alex Ramosi talking about the benchmarks, if I were to say we want to hit 30,000 a month in revenue or whatever, getting to that goal is hit or miss sometimes.
Sure.
But like you said, break it down and reverse engineer it. What are the goals to get to 30,000 a month in revenue? Well, I would need a lot more clients. Okay. How do you get more clients? well, the best way is to reach out to more clients. Okay, how do we reach out to more clients? I make 500 phone calls a day. 500 is a lot. Maybe it's 100 or whatever.
Right.
Maybe it's something more achievable. Maybe it's 100 phone calls. Maybe it's 100 direct messages.
Yeah.
And then Hermosi says, make that the goal, just like you said. So then the goal for the day is I need to make, 100 phone calls. I need to make 100 direct messages. And then I also need to make content so that people, when they see my direct messages, well, so he says when you see the direct messages, then they try to click on your page and they see what you're about. And if you only have 2 posts, which I currently have 2 posts on my page.
Congratulations.
I know, but they're like, who is this? He doesn't post anything. But if you have a wall of posts that all talk about, and they all have views and value and people commenting saying, I love this is great. Instant credibility.
Correct.
Anyway, so the point being, make those the goal. The 30,000 a month, that's great. And it's a good benchmark. But the real goal is doing those things every day, just like you said. So yeah. I think
if you can work
great.
through that and like I said, reverse engineer that
and
make that part of your life, just like you did 75 hard, the rest of it will take care of itself.
Exactly.
If you're willing to have a vision big enough to overcome the adversity that you're going to encounter.
Yes.
Because you're going to have adversity. You're going to get hit in the mouth. You're going to have a plan. You're going to get knocked down on the road, and somebody's going to drag you off in the ditch and take all your stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that too. I really have not thought about that the vision has to be big enough that when you end up failing to zero, you're still going to get back up and chase the vision, or you end up getting hit hard with something, that it's worth it. That's huge because if I was just like, I don't know, man, I just wanted to make a few extra bucks.
Yeah.
And that's my vision.
Yeah.
And then I'm be like, man, I'm not going to sell so much of my time for just a few extra bucks.
Right. Well, I've told you that, I'm getting up extremely early.
Yeah.
In order to get in the stuff that I need to get in for me to achieve the goal that I'm after.
Yeah.
And, I'm producing my own content. I'm not editing anything. I'm just putting it out.
Yeah.
It's really bad at times. Sometimes it's okay, but it's rolling. It's continual. And when I started that, I thought I can get an audience, I can get people to come and watch. That will help me in my coaching business. Eventually all of that will tie in and be helpful. And then I found out my daughter was letting my 2-year-old grandson listen to videos every morning, and he loves it.
Oh.
So guess what shifted for me?
That.
Now I don't care if anybody on the planet ever pays attention or listens.
Yeah.
If my grandkids grow up with their granddad with that content, that's a good day.
It's a great day. Yeah.
So that for me, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've had this morning, I didn't want to get up, but I did get up. I did make the video. I did send the video. I did post the video.
Yeah. Because
my grandson's going to watch it.
That's huge.
Well, that's different.
That's huge.
Now I can get hit in the mouth. I can get knocked down. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Somebody could comment today, this is the worst I have ever seen. And I would go, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I owe you.
Thank you. I owe you. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, I know that my grandson watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge. I think that's a great place that we should end it, because what better feeling can you have than that?
That's a good spot.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to add to it?
Just the biggest thing is just take action.
Yeah.
Just sit down, write your vision down, write it out. This is where I'm currently at. This is where I would like to be. Who can help me get there? What actions do I need to take to get there?
Yeah.
And make it big enough that it's worth actually doing.
Yeah. Nice. And just a side note, disclaimer for anyone watching this worried about me, or don't worry, I'm fine. It's all good. And Crim is great. We're growing still, and everything's going to be fine. And we're going to take action. We're going to make these goals happen. And it's all going to come together in the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Steve, for this awesome advice. I really feel like I should be paying you to make these, because I'm getting such great advice.
This is wonderful for me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys have any comments or questions you want us to answer or things to talk about, leave those comments on YouTube or find us on Instagram, Growth Over Comfort Pod, and send us a direct message there, or comment on any of our stuff, and we'll try and get some of those questions in, and maybe we'll just have some user submitted questions. And
would love to spend time, and we can have a couple of days that we just answer questions. That'd be great.
That'd be fun. And then also we're working on some guests as well. I think we've got some major feelers out for some guests, and So we're going to have some of those, and it's going to be great. So I hope you guys enjoy all the next episodes that are coming out. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you go choose growth over comfort, because if you don't choose it now, you'll have to later.
Hey, I like that.
I mean, really, you will.
Yeah.
You're
You're going to grow at some point.
If you're choosing comfort now, then that means you're going to have to choose massive growth later. You can choose massive growth now and have comfort later.
Yeah,
So
100%.
anyway, thank you guys. Bye.
All right, thank you.